Hello and welcome for a webinar on anatomy of eye. This is the last topic on anatomy of head, face, neck today as far as the revision of paper 1 is concerned. And this is also the last spatial sense organ which we are going to revise today. Because we have already studied the tongue, we have already studied the nose, we have already studied the ear, and today we will study the anatomy of eye, which is a spatial sense organ. In anatomy of eye, mostly the questions are posed on structure of eyeball for full question. Sometimes questions are also asked on extraocular muscles of eyeball, and sometimes the question is also asked on lacrimal apparatus. So altogether, eye is an important organ for examination also. Now let us have brief study about the external features of the eye. Okay, what we call external anatomy of the eye. You look at this image and you try to make out the different captions here. For example, what is eyebrow? What is eyelash? Okay, what is pupil? What is iris? Upper eyelid, lower eyelid, which are commonly called in anatomy as palpebra. So together they are called as palpebrae. Okay. Then lacrimal caruncle and two commissures, medial commissure and lateral commissure. Okay. Palpebral fissure, when two eyelids approximate together, it is called as a fissure. Just like oral fissure, there is a palpebral fissure. And if the palpebral fissure is closed, the conjunctival sac is closed. Okay. Now directly we'll go to the lacrimal apparatus of the eye, which is a very important part of anatomy of eye as far as your examination is concerned. Lot of time question is posed on lacrimal apparatus of the eye. And this image is very important to try drawing this image again and again in order to make it by heart. Okay. Here you can see the lacrimal glands, and lacrimal glands are located in the lateral part of the eye, above the upper eyelid. You can see, I mean, superior to the upper eyelid. Here you can see the location. Okay, and they are exocrine glands because they secrete watery fluid, and that is called as a tear. Tear, and these excretory lacrimal glands pour that tear into the conjunctival sac of the eye here. Okay, and this lacrimal fluid circulates or say gets circulated all throughout the conjunctival sac and moisten the eyeball, and finally it is drained at this corner, medial corner, near medial commissure, what we call, and there are canals draining it into the nasolacrimal duct, which we have studied at the time of anatomy of lateral wall of nose. The superior lacrimal canal and inferior lacrimal canal, they drain the excess tear or fluid in the nasolacrimal duct. And the nasolacrimal duct has got a lacrimal sac here. Okay, and this duct opens in the inferior nasal meatus, which is just below the inferior nasal concha that we have studied at the time of anatomy of lateral wall of nose. So this much of information about lacrimal apparatus of the eye is required in the examination. This diagram, you have to mention about the lacrimal gland, you have to mention about its circulation in the conjunctival sac of the eyeball and its drainage. At the same time, you can mention about the other features of the eye. Okay, mostly this question is asked for a short note. If you have any other diagram on lacrimal apparatus of eye which is more easier than this, you can go for your choice. Okay, now we'll see the anatomy of the eyeball. So we have, and by this time you know the external anatomy of eye, you know the lacrimal apparatus. Now we have to go a little inside and study the full anatomy of eyeball. Okay, this eyeball, also you can say internal eyeball. Okay, it is having three coats or three tunics or tunica. Remember this: fibrous coat or fibrous tunica or tunica fibrosa, whatever term you use, there is no uh, problem for that. But you should know these three coats anyhow. Another is vascular tunic or tunica vasculosa and nervous tunic or tunica nervosa. The fibrous coat consists of cornea and sclera, and vascular coat consists of choroid, ciliary body, and iris. Ciliary body has got ciliary muscle and ciliary process. And the last inner one, innermost, you can see, is nervous tunic or tunica nervosa, which consists of retina. Now we'll try to study these different structures one by one. Apart from these structures, there are accessory structures in the eye. From sagittal view, if you see, this is a sagittal view of the total eye. Okay, you can see the internal eyeball, plus you can see the different extraocular muscles. They are called as extraocular muscles or extrinsic muscles of eyeball. Okay, like superior rectus, inferior rectus, lateral rectus, middle rectus, superior oblique, inferior oblique, and levator palpebris superioris. There are 7 of them. Apart from that, there are some facial muscles which are covering the eye from outside. For example, orbicularis oculi. Just like orbicularis oris, there is orbicularis oculi. And then you can see the remaining parts. Here you can see the eyelashes. You can see the tarsal plates which are located in the eyelids to make it tough. Okay, and there are tarsal glands also, and optic nerve which is taking vision from the eye. Okay, and you can see the pupil, lens, iris. This diagram is also quite significant for the study of eyeball. Now we will go to the internal anatomy of the eye. Okay, here you can see the diagram which, which shows everything that the eye has from inside. Plus, this is a magnified diagram which shows the most anterior part of the eye, mainly the location of lens, and just in front of it you can see the anterior chamber. Okay, and the posterior chamber which contains aqueous humor, and you can see at the back the vitreous body which is present behind the lens, and the different parts of the uh, different coats like conjunctiva, sclera, okay, cornea here. Better than that diagram, this diagram is quite helpful for you for the study of eyeball. Now here you can see the conjunctiva. Conjunctiva is absent near in the area of cornea. Okay, so except cornea, all the conjunctival sac is covered by the conjunctiva. Then just behind the conjunctiva, you can see the anterior chamber which is filled with the aqueous humor. Then comes your pupil. Pupil is a potential space. There is nothing there. But it has got a diaphragm made up of iris. And iris, just behind the iris, you can see the lens, refractory lens, which is held by the ciliary body suspensory ligaments. And in that there is a posterior chamber of aqueous humor. Then you can see the ciliary body, and behind that you can see the ora serrata, and just behind the lens we have a vitreous body inside, which is not, this is not a you know, we are showing more retina here, vitreous body, and the sclera going continuously behind in the posterior part of the eyeball. Then you can see the choroid coat, then you can see the retina coat, and on the retina, on the posterior wall of retina, you can see the two spots here. This is a macula densa spot where there is direct straight line going to that. This macula densa, which is having aggregated rods and cones, lots of concentrated rods and cones. Okay, mostly cones. And just below that, there is a optic disc. Okay, and this optic disc will give rise to the optic nerve, and which is also having accompanied by central retinal artery and central retinal vein. So neurovascular bundle you can see, and you can see the muscles holding this eyeball. So this is the main diagram of internal eyeball. Okay. Now, in short, we'll try to understand what is eyelid. In addition to the tear spreading on the eyeball, the eyelid is primarily responsible for corneal nutrition. So eyelid is also responsible for nutrition. Then it provides protection to the cornea because eyelid keeps on closing and the cornea gets protected. And eyelashes offer additional protection like dusting. Anything coming inside the eye is tangled by these eyelashes. Eyelashes म्हणजे केस, eyelid वरचे केस. Okay. Here you can see the eyelid. Now we'll see every part in short. Now lacrimal system, or which secretes the tear. The tear is in the form of tear film. एक तो थर है छोटा सा. We have seen the lacrimal apparatus which give rise to lacrimal system, and it is responsible for tear production and drainage ultimately. And it is made up of three layers created primarily by the lacrimal apparatus and meibomian glands. Now lacrimal apparatus is for tear. There are another glands which do not secrete tear, but these are meibomian glands which secretes oily substance. They lubricate the eyeball and they provide oxygen and nutrition for the cornea, and it has antibacterial properties and helps to wash away the debris from the eye. डोळ्यात पडलेला कचरा सुद्धा काढण्याचं ते काम करतात. They also have unique composition which keeps the surface of the cornea sleek. Sleek म्हणजे साठ साठ ते सुटले पाहिजे, डोळ्यातून पापण्या हलताना आवाज सुद्धा आला नाही पाहिजे. ते स्मूथली ते पापण्या फिरत असतात. म्हणजे खास करून वरचीच पापणी फिरत असते, खालची पापणी ही स्टेबल असते. upper eyelid comes and goes back. Lower eyelid doesn't go up. You remember that, because there is no muscle to help that eyelid to do that. There is levator palpebrae superioris. There is no levator palpebrae inferioris. Okay. Now here you can see the lacrimal system. Lacrimal glands secreting the tear, and you can see the meibomian glands also secreting the oily substance. They have goblet cells, and this fluid is drained, and it is a combination, and that combination is called as a tear film. One layer innermost is a mucus layer, middle one is a watery layer, and outer layer is a oily layer. Okay, oily layer secreted by the meibomian glands, and they all circulate in the conjunctival sac. So this is the lacrimal system. Okay. Now we'll go to cornea. This is the first refractory part of the eye. Okay, it is made up of 5 layers, and we don't want to remember all the layers, but at least you should know that it is made up of 5 layers, and it is specialized transparent tissue. There are no blood vessels in it, and it is primarily responsible for refracting the light. So refraction begins from the cornea itself and does more of the job than the lens. So lens पेक्षा जास्त रिफ्रॅक्शनचं काम कॉर्निया करतो, आणि तिथून पुढचा प्रकाश मग अँटीरियर ॲक्युअस ह्युमर मधून लेन्स कडे जातो. More nerve endings are found in cornea than anywhere else in the body. That means nerve doesn't have a blood vessel, but they have got nerve endings. So it is very difficult to touch the cornea because the sudden reflex you get, you close your eye and nobody allows nobody to touch his or her eyeball. Even if you also try to touch your cornea, the body automatic reflex it doesn't allow. That is meant for the protection to the eye. The only part of the eye that is transplanted from one person to another person is cornea. So after death, cornea is utilized for the purpose of transplantation. Here is your cornea, this whitish color. Above the cornea, there is nothing. Okay, there is nothing means there is no conjunctiva. Except cornea, conjunctiva is everywhere present in the palpebral sac. Okay, now one by one we are going. So now the number comes of aqueous humor. So it is a fluid and it fills the space between cornea and the iris. Okay, continuously produced by the ciliary body. It is continuously produced by the ciliary body and flows into the chamber through the pupil. Pupil is a space between anterior chamber and posterior chamber and drains from eye through trabecular meshwork to canal of Slame. So it is canal of Slame is draining that out and it nourishes the cornea and lens from inside, gives front of eyeball form and shape. Because of its presence, eyeball gets a typical shape, round shape or spherical shape, and it has got two chambers, anterior chamber and posterior chamber. Anterior chamber is area between the cornea and the iris filled with aqueous humor, and posterior chamber is the area behind the iris and in front of the lens, and it is also filled with the aqueous humor. So aqueous humor is present in both these chambers. Now here you can see the aqueous humor which is present in the anterior chamber and posterior chamber. Posterior chamber is here. Here you can see the posterior chamber. And this is iris. Okay. And now this is lens. Now we'll go to next part, limbus. What is meaning of limbus? It is a juncture between the cornea and sclera. Where the cornea ends, sclera begins. So that junction is called as limbus. And it nourishes peripheral cornea and assists in corneal wound healing and pathway for aqueous outflow, condensed trabecular meshwork and canal of Slame. So that is the significance of limbus. Here you can see the canal of Slame and this is limbus because cornea has ended and sclera has begun. So white and this is grey. Junction is a limbus. Limbus from this side you can see one point, but it is actually limbus is circular. Okay. Now we'll study conjunctiva. Conjunctiva is very important part of anatomy of eyeball because it helps you tomorrow in surgery subject. Lot of patients suffer from conjunctivitis. So conjunctivitis is a very common element of eye, and that is why conjunctiva you should understand every bit of it. Okay, there are different types of conjunctivitis. Thin translucent mucous membrane that starts at the limbus and covers the sclera and inner surface of the eyelids. So it is also called as palpebral sac, or it is also called as conjunctival sac. Has some responsibility of tear production also. Conjunctiva is only absent on the cornea. Otherwise, it covers every part of your eye behind the eyelids. It is subject to infection, and that is why we call it as inflammation of conjunctiva as conjunctivitis. Okay. Problems from contact lens use also causes infection. Contact lens which you get to put on the cornea. You remember the movie Bazigar, okay? Shah Rukh Khan uses that, to change the face. Can be degraded by environmental conditions such as heat, wind, dust, etc. Even if you go on a bike without wearing a wind guard on an eye, gears on the eye gears, your conjunctiva easily becomes reddened, and that is conjunctivitis, one type of conjunctivitis. Here you can see the conjunctiva. It has covered, but not on the cornea. Now this is a longitudinal section, so you won't be able to see that. You have to see it from front. Now go to sclera. कंजंक्टिवाच्या मागे आता स्क्लेरा सुरू होणार, जसं की आपण कॉर्नियाच्या मागे पण स्क्लेरा सुरू होणार. It is the white of the eye. That means what you see in the eye, all white thing, is a sclera. It is made up of 3 layers. Cornea is made up of 5 layers. This sclera is made up of 3 layers. It is tough. It is fibrous tissue. And it is tight of extraocular muscle attachment. That means all those muscles which are coming to the eyeball as extrinsic muscles, they are inserted on the sclera. So your eye moves like this, like this, like this, like this. You know, your eye keeps on moving like this. It's only because of attachment of extraocular muscles on the sclera. It is opaque. That means it is not translucent like cornea. Cornea is translucent, aqueous humor is translucent, and it allows no light to enter. So anything falling on the white of eye has got no entry inside. So there is nothing like refraction there. Okay, and it is also subject to inflammation, and is called as scleritis. Here you can see the sclera. Okay, quite a big coat, and it is the part which is seen from front is less, but part which is hidden behind is too much. So 3/4 of is hidden, and 1/4 we see from outside. 1/3. Iris now. We'll go to iris. It is the color part of the eye. Now your color of eye is determined by the color of iris. What type of iris you have? Do you have a black iris? Do you have a brown iris? Or some other color combination? That shows your color of the eye. ह्याचे डोळे काळे आहेत, त्याचे डोळे घारे आहेत, हे कोण कशावरून ठरतं? ह्या आयरिसच्या कलरवरून ठरतं. एखादी व्यक्ती घारी डोळ्याची असेल तर तिच्या आयरिसचा कलर तसा असतो, म्हणून त्याला आपण घारी डोळ्याचं म्हणतो. The colored part of the eye, and it is unique to every individual like a fingerprint. Plus, it is, even if the color is same in everybody, the fingerprint of iris doesn't match with any other person in the world. So it is required for individualization, just like DNA fingerprint. Color is dependent on the amount of pigment present in that. Color is another thing and fingerprint is another thing. Both are significant things which are present in the iris. Okay, and it forms a diaphragm. The iris has tiny muscles that control the light levels in the eye. It is made because it has got muscles, and it has got a diaphragm in circular opening. So it is controlled by those muscles. So for adaptation of light, it closes, opens, and that makes your pupil small, dilated, constricted, dilated, constricted, dilated. So iris is a structure, whereas pupil is not a structure. Pupil is just a space within the diaphragm, which is reduced or increased by this iris diaphragm. And it has got 2 layers. Okay, pupil is located in the center of the iris. The pupil is a hole. It is not an eye structure per se. Per se म्हणजे actually त्या ठिकाणी pupil शोधायला गेला तर मिळत नाही, तो स्पेस आहे. So what you see, the darkest thing on your eye from front side is the iris. Now look at it, look in the mirror and find out your iris, and inside the iris you can find out the pupil. Pupil हा एक जोंधळ्यासारखा किंवा आपला म्हणू काळा वाटाण्यासारखा एक छोटासा एकदम सेंटरला डॉट असतो, तो स्पेस असतो. Now here you can see the iris, and this opening is called as a pupil. कारण प्युपिलच्या नंतर थेट आपला प्रकाश पोस्टेरियर चेंबरच्या पाण्यातून लेन्स वरती पडणार आहे. So lens comes now. Now lens is a structure, very important structure after cornea. You can see from front side. It's transparent and it is biconvex structure. It is held in place by the ciliary zonules, and it is composed of 6 layers. Okay, and it refracts the light. The refracted light which is coming from cornea through aqueous humor now falling on the lens, it is further refracted, so that now it is sent through the vitreous body on the wall of the retina. Nutrition to the lens comes from the aqueous humor because it is immersed in that. Insoluble deposits of proteins build up over time. causes cataract. Cataract हा मोतीबिंदू आहे आणि हा मोतीबिंदू म्हणजे त्या लेन्सवरती थर चढतो. कशामुळे थर चढतो? जे इनसॉल्युबल डिपॉझिट असतात प्रोटीनचे ते थर साठून साठून त्याचा एकदम ओपेसिटी वाढते आणि त्या लेन्सची ट्रान्सपरन्सी निघून जाते आणि त्या माणसाला दिसायचं बंद होतं. So opacity is caused by these deposits of proteins on the lens, and the transparent lens becomes eventually opaque lens and person gets blind eventually if it is more, and clouding of the lens and the capsule takes place. So that cataract has to be removed. Live long enough and you will have some degree of cataract, or live long enough and you will have some degree of cataract. So by aging this cataract takes place. So if you live for 40 years it will come up to some extent. If you live 60 years ते अजून जास्त येईल. 80 वर्ष झाला तर अजून खूपच जास्त येईल. तेव्हा कॅटरॅक्ट हा प्रत्येक व्यक्तीमध्ये हा येतोच कमी जास्त प्रमाणामध्ये. मोस्टली पीपल गेट operated for this. Cataracts also are caused by other agents. There are some other agents which cause cataracts, and that comes very fast. Okay. Now here you can see the lens. It is biconvex in everybody. Ciliary body which connects the choroid with the iris and has got three parts. Okay, ciliary muscle, ciliary process, and ciliary ring. Ciliary muscle is ring-shaped muscle that connects the shape of the iris for the purpose of accommodation. And the ciliary process is the attachment site for the zonules and produces the aqueous in the pars placata. And ciliary ring is attached to the choroid and is composed of the pars plana. The pars plana has no known function in the post-fetal eye. Thus, this is a safe area through which a surgical instrument may be inserted. Now, this ciliary ring is required to understand the surgical part of the eye. We have to just remember the words. Okay, that is the duty of the ophthalmologist to remember all that. Now this is ciliary body. You can see the ciliary body here. Now we'll go to zonules. Zonules means those are the parts which attach the lens to the ciliary body, may become broken or stretched, causing the lens to move out of the place. Eventually sometime it happens. Here you can see the zonules. Here you can see the lens. You can see the ciliary process. Okay. Now, what is vitreous? Or vitreous is also called as vitreous body. It is a thick, transparent gel. Though it is thick as compared to aqueous humor, still it is transparent because it has to pass the light to the retina, which is coming from lens. So it is gel-like substance, and that fills the center of the eyeball, giving it the form and shape. Your eyes are round because of mainly this. If this is not there, your eyes will get collapsed. A canal runs through the vitreous body from optic disc to the lens. It is a developmental leftover from the hyaloid artery. Usually regresses but may persist and result in floaters. This is a embryological significance, and we have to just remember that vitreous body is also a refractory material. So cornea is refractory, aqueous humor is refractory, lens is refractory, vitreous body is refractory, and the last refractory material is the retina. Central retinal veins and arteries extend in bundles and exit and enter respectively through the optic nerve, along with the optic nerve. Now this all is your vitreous body. हे जेल आहे आणि ह्या जेलला जर काही प्रॉब्लेम झाला म्हणजे द अप्लाइड अनाटॉमी ऑफ दिस जेल इज कॉल्ड ॲज मराठीमध्ये त्याला काचबिंदू म्हणतात. काचबिंदू. ओके. Glaucoma in English, and you can neurovascular bundle. Now what is choroid? It is a brown vascular sheet lying between the sclera and the retina, and this is the blood supply for the retina, because from this this is choroid between the retina and sclera, and this will give blood supply to the retina. Now what is retina? The last part. Most internal layer of the eyeball facing the vitreous body. It converts light energy into electrical energy. Now this is the last part. आता लाईट एनर्जी आपल्याकडे आली, आता ती ब्रेन कडे जाणार. मग ब्रेन कडे जायची असेल तर एव्हरीथिंग हॅज टू गो इन इलेक्ट्रिकल फॉर्म. Okay, as a impulse. So now electrical energy is converted, which is then sent to the brain via optic nerve. Similar thing we saw in the ear. Internal ear मधून आपल्या ही जी नव आहे what you call vestibulocochlear nerve that takes the electrical energy. Actually an extension of the brain tissue. The retina is called as extension of brain tissue in the eyeball, and it is composed of 10 layers. Just layer contains photoreceptors, or they are also called as receptors of vision, and they are mainly cones and rods. Cones which are near center, responsible for seeing detail and color. Color आपल्याला vision मिळते because of cones, and rods are usually present in the periphery, responsible for seeing in low light and seeing in the movements, usually for black and white किंवा low light मध्ये दिसणारे, आणि cones for the acuity also. Point of surface vision is in the fovea. It is also called as fovea capitis. Fovea capitis in the eyeball. Fovea capitis in the femur bone is different. It is located in the center of the macula, and that is called as macula densa. Okay, macula densa. Here you can see retina. Here you can see the macula densa. ह्यात सगळ्यात जास्त cones असतात. And ora serrata. Ora serrata is a serrated juncture between the retina and ciliary body, marking the transition between non-sensitive tissue and the retinal portion with many layers and specialized photoreceptor cells. Here there is a ora serrata. Hapatta. Okay. Now last is extraocular muscles of eyeball. Extraocular muscles of eyeball, there are 7 altogether. 7 आहेत ते, and all of them are helping your eyes to move or eyeball to move, and they maintain binocularity. Binocularity म्हणजे आपण समोर बघताना कुठल्या डोळ्यातून बघतोय हे कळत नाही, आपल्याला स्पष्ट दिसतं. म्हणजे जेव्हा एक डोळा जातो तेव्हा आपल्याला कळतं की दुसऱ्या डोळ्याची किंमत काय आहे. We don't see properly. There are 6 main muscles and 7 muscles is levator, palpebrae, superioris. There are 4 recti, medial rectus, lateral rectus, superior rectus, inferior rectus, and 2 oblique, superior oblique and inferior oblique. त्या प्रत्येकाला शॉर्ट नेम्स आहेत आणि प्रत्येकाची फंक्शन्स वेगवेगळे आहेत, आणि प्रत्येकाचं ओरिजिन वेगळं आहे. सगळ्याचं इन्सर्शन हे कशावरती आहे, स्क्लेरावरती आहे. ओके, and moves the eyeball towards the nose, moves the eyeball away from the nose, primarily moves eye upward, inferior moves eye downwards, oblique rotates the top of the eye, and inferior oblique rotates the top of the eye away from the nose. You can understand this. And the last one is levator palpebrae superioris, 7th one is moves the upper eyelid, and lower eyelid doesn't move. And all of these muscles are supplied by the oculomotor nerve, motor supply, and that is called as the third cranial nerve. But exception is lateral rectus and superior oblique. Lateral rectus is supplied by the abducens nerve, 6th cranial nerve, and superior oblique muscle is supplied by the 4th cranial nerve, that is trochlear nerve. So 3, 4, and 6, these are the nerve motor supply to all the extraocular muscles of the eyeball. Here you can see all of them. हे oblique बघा कसं दिसतं, आणि recti म्हणजे straight, oblique म्हणजे oblique. Okay, तिरकं जाणारी muscles. So these are the muscles of the eyeball, and the optic nerve is the second cranial nerve, and it is a vision nerve. No, for vision, spatial sensory आहे ती. Purpose is for energy transmission to brain and subject to damage, and contains 1 million nerve fibers, and it is for the visual pathway. Here you can see the optic nerve, and here you can see the optic nerve pathway. It is mainly in the physiology. It is not much required for your anatomy, but visual pathway you study in anatomy. Okay, here you can see the visual pathway. This is important in physiology. Okay. Now you must be knowing that तुम्ही nervous system and special senses physiology मध्ये केल्याच असतील तर तुम्हाला माहिती पडेल, but mostly visual pathways asked in physiology paper. Same part of visual field and the visual pathway from right and left eye going to the which lobe of cerebrum? Cerebral hemisphere, occipital lobe. And with this we have ended today's webinar on anatomy of eyeball, and a lot of people also assist me in making these webinars. So thanks to all of them, and thanks to you all. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, we have ended today's topic on eyeball. And here in applied anatomy, you remember conjunctivitis, cataract, glaucoma, and blind spot. Okay, and what you call blindness, color blindness, night blindness. Vitamin A deficiency causes night blindness. The loss of cones causes color blindness. Is all that comes in your applied anatomy. And tomorrow and day after tomorrow we have 2 more days for your revision, because our last day is on 12. 12 तारखेला आपण पेपर कसा लिहायचा याची माहिती घेणार आहे. त्यामुळे उद्या परवा 2 दिवस आपण अप्पर लिम वरती रिव्हिजन करू, because अप्पर लिम has got 65 marks in paper 1. So with this I end today's webinar. Thank you. Thanks a lot.